I thought my engagement party would be the happiest night of my life. The one where the grief of the past would finally give way to celebration, where family and friends would raise their glasses and remind us that love had survived our heartbreak. But sometimes life doesn't hand you closure. Sometimes it hands you a ghost, walking through the door in flesh and blood, carrying a child on her hip, and wearing the one thing I thought was buried forever. Please stay with me through this story, because if you've ever trusted someone with your whole heart, only to find out there were secrets you never saw coming, you'll understand why I have to tell it. And maybe, just maybe, you'll see why I can't look at my fiancé the same way anymore. My name is Clara Evans. I'm 28 years old, and for the last 3 years I've been with Daniel Wright, the man who taught me how to breathe again after tragedy nearly crushed me. We lost a baby together 2 years ago, a loss so sharp it still leaves me winded when I think about it. We buried our daughter with a tiny silver bracelet Daniel had picked out when we first discovered we were expecting. A symbol of her short life. A piece of her that was supposed to rest in peace forever. And now, at the very moment I thought we were starting fresh, that same bracelet was glittering on another woman's wrist. The night had started perfectly. Fairy lights strung across the backyard, laughter echoing, champagne glasses clinking. My best friend Marissa kept sneaking me winks across the table as Daniel's mother gave a teary speech about finally welcoming me into the family. Daniel squeezed my hand under the table, his thumb brushing my engagement ring, his smile easy and confident. For the first time in years, I let myself believe in happiness again. I was mid-laugh when the air shifted. The sliding doors creaked open, and conversations faltered like someone had pressed pause. A woman stepped in, tall, striking, with a toddler balanced on her hip. She wore no hesitation, only a look of determination that cut straight through the warm glow of the party. It took me a moment to place her. Daniel's ex, Amelia. The woman he'd always dismissed as unstable. A messy part of his past I never had to worry about. Except she wasn't messy tonight. She was composed, every inch of her calculated. And then I saw it. The bracelet. The one I had dropped into my baby's casket with trembling fingers. The one I had kissed goodbye. The glass in my hand slipped, shattering against the floor. No one moved. Daniel went pale, his lips parting, but no sound came out. Amelia shifted the child on her hip, her eyes sweeping the stunned crowd before landing directly on me. "This," she said, her voice calm and sharp, "is Daniel's son." The room erupted. Gasps. Whispers. Daniel jolted to his feet, his chair scraping violently against the floor. But me? I couldn't move. My eyes were fixed on the bracelet, gleaming under the lights. My baby's bracelet. On her wrist. And for the first time in years, I felt the ground tilt under me as the truth threatened to rip apart everything I thought I knew. What was that bracelet doing on her wrist? And why did Daniel look like a man who had just seen a ghost? For a second, no one moved. The music still played faintly from the speakers, but it felt like background noise to a scene I couldn't comprehend. Daniel's face had gone from pale to ashen. He wasn't looking at me. He wasn't even looking at Amelia. His eyes were locked on the toddler in her arms, wide and terrified, like he'd just seen his reflection in miniature. "Amelia," he said finally, his voice low, shaking. "Not here. Not like this." But she only tilted her head, her lips curling in a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Why not here? Isn't this where you parade your perfect new life?" She shifted her weight, the little boy, their son, resting his head on her shoulder, blissfully unaware of the wreckage his presence had ignited. I couldn't breathe. My eyes darted between the bracelet on her wrist and Daniel's expression. That bracelet was supposed to be 6 feet under, with the daughter I never got to watch grow up. How was she wearing it now? Marissa touched my arm gently. "Clara, sit down. You're shaking." But I couldn't. My body was locked in place. My mind was racing through years of Daniel's reassurances, his dismissal of Amelia as obsessed, dramatic, a mistake he wished he'd never made. And now here she was, not obsessed, not hysterical, but calm and control, holding a living piece of him in her arms. "Daniel," I whispered, my voice breaking. "What is happening?" He finally tore his eyes from Amelia and looked at me. But the look wasn't the steady, comforting one I had fallen in love with. It was wild. Caught. Like an animal cornered. "Clara, please," he said, his voice urgent. "This isn't what it looks like." But Amelia laughed, soft, cold, sharp enough to slice through his denial. "Really? Because it looks exactly like what it is." She took a step closer, and I noticed how everyone had unconsciously pulled back, creating a wide circle around us. "This is your son, Daniel. And you've been hiding him. Just like you tried to hide me." A murmur rippled through the guests. His mother pressed her hand against her chest, whispering something to his father. The fairy lights above suddenly felt harsh, glaring, exposing us in the most humiliating way. My throat tightened. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to drag the truth out of both of them. But all I could see was that bracelet, the one symbol of my grief, now mocking me from her wrist. "Where did you get that?" I finally managed to choke out, my eyes locked on the glinting silver. Amelia followed my gaze, then lifted her arms slowly, deliberately, letting the bracelet catch the light. "Oh, this." Her voice was casual, but her eyes burned with intent. "Daniel gave it to me. Years ago. Said it was too special to ever throw away." The words slammed into me harder than any scream could have. My vision blurred, my legs trembling. Daniel lurched forward, panic spilling into his voice. "That's not true. Clara, don't listen to her. Please." But I saw it, that flicker in his eyes. A crack in his denial. The toddler whimpered softly, nuzzling Amelia's neck, and she stroked his back, her gaze never leaving me. "You buried the wrong truth, Clara," she said softly. "And tonight you're going to dig it up." The room seemed to tilt. My engagement ring felt heavy, suffocating on my finger. And in that moment, I realized something chilling. This wasn't just about betrayal. It was about lies big enough to unravel everything I thought my life was built on. If Amelia wasn't lying, then the bracelet, the baby, and Daniel's past were connected in ways I wasn't prepared to face. The party dissolved in minutes. What had been laughter and champagne became hushed whispers, and the sound of guests making excuses to leave. I barely registered the clinking of heels on the pavement or the murmured apologies as people slipped out. All I could see was Amelia, standing there like a storm that refused to pass, and Daniel, whose silence was somehow louder than the chaos around us. Finally, his mother stepped forward, her voice brittle but commanding. "Daniel, explain this. Now." But Daniel didn't. He just rubbed his forehead, eyes darting between me, Amelia, and the child. His silence was damning. "Fine," Amelia said smoothly, adjusting the boy on her hip. "I'll explain. His name is Noah. He's 2 years old. Daniel is his father." The world seemed to tilt again. 2 years old. My chest constricted. That would mean conceived while Daniel and I were already together. While I was carrying our baby. "Lies," Daniel snapped suddenly, his voice breaking the fragile quiet. But even as he spoke, his tone lacked conviction. He turned to me, his hand outstretched. "Clara, you have to believe me. She's been doing this for years, twisting things, trying to destroy me. She's obsessed." Amelia smirked, unfazed. "Obsessed? Or telling the truth you've been too much of a coward to face?" She reached into her purse with one hand and pulled out a folded sheet of paper, tossing it onto the nearest table. "If words aren't enough, there's proof." My stomach lurched. Proof. The word clawed at me. I moved before I realized I was moving, my hands trembling as I unfolded the paper. It was a birth certificate. The father's name, Daniel Wright. The air left my lungs. I stumbled back, gripping the edge of the table to steady myself. "Daniel." My voice was barely a whisper. He looked at the paper, his jaw tightening, his hands clenching into fists at his sides. "This isn't real. She forged it. She's capable of anything." His words came out too fast, too practiced, like someone trying to plug holes in a sinking ship. But Amelia wasn't done. She lifted her wrist again, flashing the bracelet at me like a weapon. "And this?" Her voice sharpened. "He told me it belonged to the child you lost. That he couldn't stand to leave it in the ground. He took it back, Clara. He gave it to me." A sound tore out of me, half gasp, half sob. My knees threatened to buckle. That bracelet had been sacred. The one thing that tethered me to the daughter I never held. And now, it was on the wrist of the woman he swore was crazy. "Stop!" Daniel shouted, his face twisted with rage and panic. He grabbed the bracelet, yanking Amelia's arm down. But the damage was done. Every eye in the room was on us, waiting for me to speak, to move, to decide what to do with the wreckage laid bare in front of me. But I couldn't. Not yet. My mind was too loud, my grief too raw, my trust unraveling too quickly. Instead, I turned and walked out. The night air hit me like ice, but it was better than suffocating inside. Behind me, I heard Daniel call my name, his footsteps starting after me. I didn't stop. I couldn't. Because for the first time, I wasn't sure if the man I loved was my anchor or the storm that was about to destroy me. Daniel followed me into the night. But what he confessed when we were finally alone was worse than anything I had imagined. The cool night air stung my cheeks as I hurried down the driveway, my heels catching against the gravel. I heard him behind me, his voice desperate. "Clara, wait. Please, just listen to me." I spun around, my chest heaving, tears threatening to spill. "Listen to what, Daniel?" "That your ex shows up at our engagement party with a child that looks like you and a bracelet I buried with my baby? What explanation could possibly make this okay?" He froze, raking a hand through his hair, his chest rising and falling like he'd run a mile. For a moment, he looked like a stranger, someone cornered, someone exposed. "Amelia is lying," he said, but the words rang hollow. "She's always been manipulative. You have to believe me." I stepped closer, my voice trembling but sharp. "Then how do you explain the birth certificate? The bracelet?" "Daniel," I held that bracelet in my hand before they closed the casket. "I kissed it goodbye. How could she possibly be wearing it now unless you—" My voice cracked. "Unless you took it back?" His face contorted, pain flashing in his eyes. "I didn't mean for you to find out like this." The world seemed to stop. I stared at him, my heart thundering. "So you did take it?" He swallowed hard, his shoulders slumping. "Clara, I couldn't leave it there. I know you thought it was for her, but that bracelet wasn't hers. It wasn't meant to be buried." My stomach turned. "What are you saying?" His voice was low, almost pleading. "It was never our baby's. I bought it years before for Amelia." The words hit me like a physical blow. My knees weakened and I staggered back. "What?" Daniel stepped forward, hands raised as if to catch me, but I shook my head violently. No, you told me you bought it when we found out I was pregnant. You said it was for her." I lied. The word ripped out of him, raw and furious. "I didn't want you to know where it came from. I thought burying it with her would give you peace. But I couldn't do it, Clara. I couldn't put something that wasn't hers in the ground forever." My tears finally spilled, hot and relentless. "So you let me grieve with a lie? You let me believe that bracelet was my daughter's connection to you, when all along it belonged to her." He looked broken, his voice barely a whisper. "I thought it didn't matter. I thought what we had was stronger than the past." I laughed bitterly through my tears. "Stronger than the past? Daniel, the past just walked into our engagement party holding your child." His jaw clenched. "I don't know if Noah is mine. I swear to you, I don't. She's using him to tear us apart." But even as he said it, his eyes betrayed him. There was doubt there. Fear. A possibility he couldn't deny. I hugged my arms around myself, shivering despite the warm night. "Then there's only one way to know." He frowned. "What do you mean?" I met his eyes, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "A DNA test. If you want me to believe you, Daniel, we need the truth. All of it." He opened his mouth to argue, then closed it again. His shoulders sagged in defeat. And in that silence, I realized I had never been further from the man I thought I knew. But Amelia wasn't going to wait quietly for a DNA test. She had her own plan to make sure the truth came out first. The following morning, I woke with a heaviness in my chest. Sleep had been impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Amelia's smirk, the bracelet glinting on her wrist, and the child, Noah, his small hand clutching her dress. Daniel had slept in the guest room. Or maybe he hadn't slept at all. I didn't care enough to check. By mid-morning, the whispers had already started. My phone buzzed nonstop with texts from friends, relatives, even acquaintances I hadn't spoken to in years. What happened at the party? Is it true? Who's the child? Gossip traveled faster than wildfire, and Amelia had lit the match. But Amelia wasn't finished. At noon, just as I was pacing the living room, there was a knock at the door. When I opened it, Amelia was standing there, calm, composed, the toddler perched on her hip like an accessory. Daniel appeared behind me instantly, his voice sharp. "What are you doing here?" She didn't flinch. "I thought we should talk. All of us." She pushed past me as though she belonged inside, setting Noah down gently on the rug. The little boy toddled forward, clutching a toy car, his laughter piercing the tension like sunlight through storm clouds. I couldn't move. My eyes followed him instinctively, my heart aching with a mixture of grief and confusion. "Get out," Daniel snapped, his face red with fury. "You've caused enough damage." Amelia ignored him. Instead, she looked directly at me. "You asked for proof last night. Do you want it?" My throat tightened. "What do you mean?" She pulled out her phone, swiping a few times before turning the screen toward me. A video played, grainy but unmistakable. Daniel, sitting beside her on a bed, his hand resting on her very pregnant stomach. His voice clear as day. "I can't believe we're doing this again." The room spun. My stomach dropped. Daniel lunged forward, trying to grab the phone, but Amelia pulled it back with a smile. "Careful. I've got backups. Clara, listen to me." Daniel's voice cracked as he turned to me. "That was years ago. It's not what it looks like." I was drunk, confused. She trapped me. Amelia raised an eyebrow, cutting him off. "Confused enough to show up to doctor's appointments? To pick out baby clothes? To sign the paperwork at the hospital?" She leaned closer, her voice cold. "The only thing you're confused about is whether you can still keep her in the dark." My knees trembled. I had to grip the back of the couch to steady myself. The bracelet, the child, the birth certificate, and now this video. Every piece of the puzzle was falling into place. And Daniel was running out of room to deny it. Amelia crouched down beside Noah, brushing his hair back tenderly. "He deserves more than secrets. And Clara, so do you." For the first time since she walked back into our lives, her voice softened. But that softness didn't comfort me. It terrified me. Because she wasn't just exposing Daniel. She was dismantling everything I thought was mine. If Amelia was telling the truth, then my engagement wasn't just in jeopardy. My entire future was built on a lie. The silence after Amelia's words was suffocating. Noah's little car clicked against the hardwood floor as he rolled it back and forth, his giggles a cruel contrast to the storm brewing above him. Daniel broke first. "Enough," he barked, his voice raw. He turned to me, eyes wild. "Clara, she's manipulating you. That video, it was old, before us, before you and I were even serious." Amelia laughed, low and sharp. "Oh, don't flatter yourself, Daniel. That video was from during your relationship. Clara, check the date stamp if you don't believe me." My hands shook as I reached for the phone, my eyes landing on the corner of the video screen. The date burned into me like acid, 7 months into my pregnancy. The exact month I was confined to bed rest, alone and terrified, while Daniel claimed he was working late. My stomach heaved. I pressed a hand against my mouth, trying not to collapse right there on the floor. "Clara, listen." Daniel's voice cracked as he reached for me. I stepped back. Don't you dare touch me." The betrayal settled over me in suffocating layers. Every late night, every unexplained absence, every dismissive answer when I asked where he'd been, it all made sense now. He hadn't been working. He hadn't been at the gym. He'd been with her. My chest tightened until breathing hurt. "You let me cry myself to sleep every night, thinking you were busy providing for us. But you were busy building a second life." Daniel shook his head violently, panic etching every line of his face. "It wasn't like that. I didn't love her. I never loved her. It was a mistake." Amelia rose to her feet slowly, her smirk gone, replaced with something colder. "A mistake doesn't last 9 months, Daniel. A mistake doesn't have a name and a heartbeat and eyes just like yours." She looked at me then, her gaze steady. "Clara, I don't expect you to believe me. But Noah deserves the truth. And so do you." My heart splintered. Because beneath all of Amelia's bitterness, I could hear it, a mother's conviction. And no matter how much I wanted to deny it, I couldn't unsee Noah's resemblance to Daniel. I turned back to Daniel, my voice breaking. "I asked you for one thing. Just one. Honesty. And you couldn't even give me that." He dropped to his knees in front of me, desperation pouring out of him. "Clara, please. Don't throw this away. Don't throw us away. We can get through this. We can take the test, prove she's lying." But his words felt like smoke, slipping through my fingers. Even if a test cleared him, the damage was done. The man I thought I was marrying no longer existed. My eyes blurred with tears, my body trembling. I whispered the only words I could manage. "I don't even know who you are anymore." Amelia's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "Then maybe it's time you find out." The truth was no longer avoidable. But what I discovered when the final secret came to light was far worse than betrayal. The days that followed blurred together, each one heavier than the last. Gossip swirled like a storm. My engagement ring lay abandoned on the nightstand, and Daniel's desperate apologies echoed endlessly in my ears. But nothing silenced the gnawing question in my heart. Was Noah his child? The DNA test was set. Amelia insisted on it, Daniel reluctantly agreed, and I clung to it like a drowning woman to driftwood. Maybe, just maybe, the truth would free me. When the results came back, Daniel tore the envelope open with trembling hands. My stomach twisted as he scanned the page. His face went pale. "No," he whispered. His knees buckled, and he sank into a chair. "He's mine. The room tilted. Amelia's lips curved into something between triumph and sorrow. She pulled Noah close, kissing his hair. I told you. I wanted to scream, to break something, to collapse. Instead, I stood frozen, staring at the man who had shattered me. You lied to me every day we were together. Every single day. Daniel's head snapped up, his voice frantic. Clara, I didn't want to lose you. I thought if I buried it, if I pretended it never happened, we could still have our life. I couldn't lose you after everything with the baby. At the mention of my daughter, rage seared through me. Don't you dare use her to justify this. Don't you dare. My hands shook as I reached for the bracelet still clasped around Amelia's wrist. I yanked it free, my voice trembling. And this? Was it supposed to stay buried too? Amelia's eyes flickered with something I hadn't seen before. Guilt. Daniel's voice broke. Clara, please. But it was Amelia who spoke next, her words low, deliberate. That bracelet, it was never meant for your baby. Daniel gave it to me years ago. But when your daughter died, he asked me to bring it to the funeral. He said it would be safer with me than in the ground. The air left my lungs. My knees buckled, and I gripped the edge of the table to keep from falling. You mean he never buried it at all? Amelia shook her head. He couldn't let go. Not of me. Not of us. The final piece clicked into place, and with it, the man I thought I loved disintegrated before my eyes. He hadn't just betrayed me. He had desecrated my grief, used it as a shield to hide his own double life. I slipped the engagement ring from my finger and placed it on the table between us. My voice was steady now, cold and final. We're done, Daniel. Whatever you had with me, it's over. Go be the father you've been denying. But don't you ever come near me again. He reached for me, tears streaming down his face, but I stepped back. This time, there was no hesitation. No more begging. No more lies. Amelia held Noah tighter, her gaze unreadable. For the first time, I saw not a rival, but another woman caught in Daniel's web of deceit. As I walked out the door, the bracelet still clutched in my hand, a strange clarity settled over me. I had buried my daughter once. I would not bury myself for him too. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you.